Hello, my name is Antonio Roberts and I'm a digital artist based in Birmingham. Digital technologies have affected my work in many ways, primarily in how I make the work and how it's produced. So before discovering how to use computers, I was working a lot with paint, a lot with pencil, etc. But then upon using computers, it really allowed me a lot of freedom to work on minute details, but also to edit them endlessly. And into how it's shared, of course, you can share stuff on the internet, but one of the things that really has impacted me is becoming part of lots of different communities. So finding artists who have similar artworks and being able to share that with them immediately, instantly, without any latency or anything. So it's really allowed lots of friendships, relationships to form. But that, of course, does have its downsides at times. So it means that because it can be shared, it can also be copied endlessly. But that's something that I think is integral to artistic practices, is copying, but importantly, remixing, taking something, changing it a bit, and making it into your own style. And having the internet has allowed that to happen with my artwork from other people, but also for me to use that in my work as well. I do like to work with popular culture, in particular things that I see on a day-to-day basis. So advertisements on TV, on billboards, but then also look back through my childhood. So I grew up watching cartoons, and those images have stuck with me. They inspired me a lot, taught me a lot of different morals and lessons and everything. So I think it's kind of natural that I want to be using those and be inspired by those. And I really, in terms of the imagery, I really like just how colourful they are, how vibrant, how they really grab your attention. And I want to use some of that in my own practice. Really just knowing how things work. I want to really delve into how things work on a technical and a creative level. So that might sometimes mean that I see something on TV and write software or use different techniques to create it. But then in terms of creatively, what are people's inspirations? How did they come to their conclusions? No one creates something in isolation, so which influences they take and transmogrify until there's something completely new. So yeah, I think what inspires me most is that. And as I said in my last question, it's usually that very bright, colourful, eye-catching imagery to which I'm really drawn to. Yes, so my work really likes to deal with copyright. I like to tackle it head on, sometimes prodding at it a little bit, provoking it. And to that extent, I haven't had any big legal issues with any of my work with regards to copyright, because one of the things that I like to do, I like to remix other people's work, but oftentimes I'll email them and say, hey, I've taken an aspect of your work and I've remixed it into this. And I've never had anyone send me an angry email back. In fact, a lot of the time I've had people be kind of not necessarily thankful, but just happy that I've been inspired by their work. The reason I like to prod at these large entities is because they are quite often responsible for the extensions in copyright, which mean that works that would have fallen into the public domain, allowing us to use them, are now almost in copyright perpetually, even long after the creator of them has passed on. So yeah, I think I like to prod at the larger institutions. So my work primarily is made digitally, and by that I don't just mean always on computers, but the process is heavily reliant on using computers in whatever way. So with my illustrations, what I usually tend to do is take an illustration and cut it up into lots of little pieces and like to rearrange those a little bit so it looks both familiar and unfamiliar. Much like how remixing works, you take a little slice, repeat it endlessly and everything. And so that's how a lot of my illustrations are made, and that's using a piece of software called Inkscape, which is just an illustration program. And yeah, it allows me to really have a lot of flexibility with how these different shapes, the different pieces of an artwork are arranged. So those are how I usually work with illustrations. But then with the other work, the Wonderland artwork, that was quite a lengthy process. I was working with the collections of the Herbert here, and one of the pieces that I was using was all these taxidermied animals, sort of like the real-life counterparts of the cartoon characters that you might see. And to be able to edit those on the computer, I used a process called photogrammetry. And photogrammetry involves, on a very basic level, it involves someone taking lots of photos of an object. So they walk around it, take lots of photos from different angles, and then you use a specialist piece of software which will analyze all the photos and then compile them into one 3D model, which you can do anything with. You can bring it into a game, you can 3D print it, you can do whatever you want with it. So that's what I did with the animals. I 3D scanned them using photogrammetry, and then I took them into a piece of software called Blender, which allowed me to really animate and warp them to my heart's content. And I wanted to make them look very mysterious and warped and kind of glitchy, really being inspired by Alice in Wonderland, how everything looks a bit odd in that one.